Hello, friends. It's Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden, and I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle and Joy, and I've seen almost nothing.
And this week, we are looking at episode 11 of Almost Human, Disrupt. Disrupt? Disrupted?
Disrupt. Off to a good start.
When an overly smart house fatally malfunctions, Kennex and Dorian have to determine who or what is at fault. Meanwhile, Dorian experiences a glitch where he remembers being a child. We find out in the show that it is a memory pack that's being stored.
Yeah, basically
brain.
some memories have been not falsely implanted, but have been implanted in Dorian's head. And no one knows where the memories came from or how they got there.
Disturbing.
Very.
To say the least. What were the police unprepared for this week, Danielle?
They were unprepared for one truly terrible thing that we will spend a little bit of time talking about. But before we talk about that one terrible thing, why don't we talk about some fun tech? This will be quick because there was very little of it. Okay, fun tech. To go along with our holographic doctors and our holographic investment advisors, in this episode, it's revealed that there are holographic butlers and holographic teachers. There's a character in this episode who is expelled from school and then has to be homeschooled by a holographic teacher. So that exists.
Are there no retail workers? Like, there's that weird people being replaced by machines thing. Mm-hmm. How many people can you replace with holograms?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's a shortage of teachers in 2048. Surprise!
I mean, you know, maybe this falls into the category of maybe 2048 is bleak as the population dropped.
Well, if the population dropped, you wouldn't need as many teachers.
Actually, that's a good point.
Granted,
says the teacher.
You know, like many schools are overcrowded, right? So maybe they've reduced class sizes, but then decided that alongside reducing class sizes, some kids get holographic teachers, or maybe this child was given a holographic teacher because she was expelled from school for assaulting a classmate, and so they don't really care about her education. I don't really know. The show doesn't explain it.
This is true. But that's going to be a recurring theme in this episode, friends. The show doesn't explain it.
The show doesn't explain it. Or it's just that in 2048, people love holograms because there are also holographic koi fish just kind of randomly in a pond that a bunch of children are playing with. So that's kind of fun.
It's true.
You know, I think they just like holograms, you know? Maybe it's like me zooming into, you know, if I teach a class via Zoom, I am broadcast, quote, broadcast into X number of students' homes. But in this universe, I, the human, am still teaching, but I could teach in 20 different classrooms at once.
This is true.
Could be fun. Or terrible. I'm not really sure. Probably both.
I'm sure it has its ups and its downs.
Little column A, little column B.
Yeah.
There was also a virtual reality after party that we got to be a part of.
You know, personally, I think was like definitely the safer way to go about it. I feel like all these people just in their own little cubbies, having a little VR snooze, and like no one's putting anything in any drinks. No one's, you know, dancing with the wrong people a little too hard. Like, everyone's in their own space.
Well, you know, it's funny because when we were watching it, and we did watch this episode together, I messaged Joy, the real upside to a party like this is a party you don't have to clean up afterwards.
Yes, true.
I do think that unsafe activity could still happen at this party because I did clock this one party goer who's just, you know, the music is pumping in the background and the person picked up a USB that was attached to something, it doesn't make it clear, and then just like pumps the USB right into his wrist.
Ah, I missed that.
I just kind of wrote down,
oops,
USB drugs, ? USB party drugs, ? And, you know,
getting high off code?
Getting high off code.
Code high?
If you can get high off code and there is bad code, then you can get a bad trip.
Fair.
Or maybe that's just how you switch from room to room in the party.
maybe you're like, you know, sick of Diplo, so you've gone into the mouse, like the dead mouse space, and this is way more your vibe right now. And then the other USB is Skrillex, you know, like, we don't know. Considering we've seen some of the drug use in this world, I wouldn't be surprised that some of it could literally be digitally synthetic.
Yeah, digital drugs. They just go right into, you know, there is actually a hacker in this episode who has a chip just stuck right to the outside of his temple. And he never uses it for anything. It's just there.
It's just there. No, you know, it's just like the, does he know? Does he know it's there? No one references it.
And it's like the spinach in his teeth that no one wants to tell him about.
Because you know, you've got a little...
It does a bit look like he fell asleep on a motherboard one night, and then when he woke up, a bit of it was still stuck to him. That's exactly what it looks like.
My dude, you need to go to bed in a bed. Just gonna put that one out there.
But I also want him
partied a little too hard that night.
Plug into that USB, and it goes into the chip in his head, and then everything is just gently pink for a while. Like, that sounds nice.
Literal rose-colored glasses. Rose-colored eyes.
Rose-colored eyes.
But yes, is that all our
That's
happy
it.
tech?
Those
Was there more happy
all,
tech?
No,
Aww.
that was it. Those were all the fun little things that were sprinkled throughout the episode. The rest of it is awful.
The rest of it is awful. Oh man, Friends, 2048 is such a weird society that Danielle and I were trying to figure out how to really talk about this thing that is this security smart house. Mm-hmm. Because, wow.
Yeah.
Just, wow.
And, you know, I will say that I think this show is doing that thing it likes to do, where it takes this, I don't want to say classic horror trope, because I'm not the human who can speak to classic horror tropes, but I think that it is kind of a classically horrific thing when your house turns on you. Except in this situation, it's a smart house with wild security measures, one of which includes a security feature that, when it senses an intruder, shoots them on site.
With, I believe it was laser-guided bullet?
Laser-guided gunfire is what this house is outfitted with. In addition to, like, just everything is automated. The doors can close and then be hermetically sealed, and no one can open them because you can't manually override anything. The top of the pool cover closes, and then no one can do anything about that, you know? And I mentioned a holographic butler earlier. The butler's name is Sam, and Sam just has a host of different things that he can do. Not only can he put the stocks on the screen and pour your scotch, he can also offer you a mood stabilizer. And
I forgot about that. I would take a mood stabilizer too, to be fair, if I had the kind of day the Bennetts had.
Oh boy, yeah. I don't even want to describe what happens to the Bennetts. It's really horrific.
It's so hard to watch.
It's really hard to watch.
It changes the feel of the entire episode, I think. Mm-hmm. When it started out, not to tap dance around the issue that I had watching it, which was the Bennetts are a black couple who are definitely of means because they have a really lovely house with this beautiful, they have this beautiful house with a pool mm-hmm. and this like smart system in their home. And they...
A top-of-the-line security system. Let me just say, the company that's in charge of the security system is in the process of rolling it out for every home, but not every home has it yet. So I do think it's top of the line.
Right. It's definitely like, this was a prototype for the rich, and now that we've gotten that rich money, maybe we can make a version for the less rich. Mm-hmm. Like, it feels like that. Mm-hmm. And even within the show, we don't really get I hate to say like a reason for their death, but like there are other deaths that happen in the episode, which feel more earned.
Yeah, it's not kind to say.
No.
Okay, well, why don't we just quickly lay out the trial in case anyone either hasn't seen the episode or it's been a while since you've seen the episode. But essentially the setup is this black couple, the Bennetts, are in this amazing house of theirs and then are brutally murdered. And it's revealed that the day that they are murdered is the anniversary of the death of another person. So the couple are the Bennetts. The child who died a year earlier was Aaron Kasdan. And a year prior to the beginning of this episode, Aaron Kasdan was trying to climb over the fence of the Bennett's house to get somewhere. We don't know yet at the beginning of the episode. And of course, their smart security system clocks him as an intruder and kills him. So then the Bennetts start getting hate mail. Just threat upon threat, literally tens of thousands of threats coming in every day because I guess they were at fault. When really what was at fault here is the security system, the house and the way that it was designed, right? And the fact that an intruder shouldn't be met with laser-guided gunfire. As Ken X points out in the episode, a yell out the window is maybe what that child needed, not gunfire. But it's this weird layer on top of everything, the way that the characters were cast and the race of each character who was cast.
I think as other episodes we've seen, they will bring out something that sounds like it's a big major issue and then not address it.
Yes, because we meet the CEO of the company, we meet their in-house counsel, we get to hear their side of the story, and, from their side of the story, they're coming at it from that corporate angle. We're about to roll out all of these new androids, we're about to roll out this security system in everyone's homes. This is a critical time, so we're trying to get to the bottom of this security malfunction. They basically deny that it's a malfunction altogether, and they try to paint the boy who died as this criminal who deserved what he got because they don't want people to see the security system as the fault. They want the boy to be at fault, or the Bennetts, anyone who's not them,
Where it becomes malicious for me as a plot point, I think is because the child is white and the Bennetts are black. During the course of the police investigation, Kennex and Dorian find out that they got almost 60,000
threats.
Thank you. They got almost 60,000 threats in the last year from that death. And almost 20,000 of those threats threatened death themselves. And there's, percentage-wise, most people were probably like, yeah, I hope you die. That makes sense. But, percentage-wise, there had to be a few people in there who were, legitimately wishing death on these people.
Right. The show doesn't say that Centurion, which is the name of the security company, the show doesn't say that Centurion was receiving this kind of hate mail. The whole thing is awful. And it's also a symptom of 2048, as it's constructed in the show, and just everyone constantly escalating, constantly throwing more and more tech at the problem, constantly building bigger and bigger guns, as if this is going to solve anything.
It is a society that thinks if they can just one-up each other, they'll be okay. Which is a hell of a place.
Yeah. Yep. And so it created this awful, no good, very bad hellscape.
Definitely a terrible, no good, very bad hellscape. 100%.
Wait, there's one more security feature of the house that we haven't even mentioned, and that is the house's fire security feature. So here's what happens in 2048 if you have a smart house and there's a fire. The house just scans for signs of life. And if nothing living is found, the system seals every single entrance and exit and then sucks all of the oxygen out of the house. because no oxygen, no fire. Here's the problem.
It's such a it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
It's so
Sorry,
stupid.
what's the problem?
That's the problem. The problem is that it's stupid. Because if someone in 2048 can build this, someone in 2048 can break it. And that's precisely what happens. A hacker who's bent on vengeance because she was friends with Aaron and wants to kill everyone that she views as responsible for his death, hacks into the smart houses and promptly starts killing them all off.
Sure does.
One person by trapping them underneath the pool cover. One person by registering them as an intruder so that laser-guided gunfire hits them. And another person for hacking the house so that the house doesn't recognize them as an alive person, and then they're just trapped in the house when the oxygen is sucked out of it. Isn't that horrifying?
It's such an extreme response to... what does the house do if it does register an alive person? Does it just rain down,
Water?
Sand? Does it rain down water and sand? What? Do you die in quicksand? Is it that thing? Is it finally here that I've been avoiding my whole life because the 90s told me that I would need to avoid quicksand? Is this it?
I do know exactly how to get out of a quicksand pit.
Right? We all do, because we all thought it was going to be a part of our own thing.
Can I add one more horrifying layer onto the death of the lawyer who is the one who was stuck in the house that sucked all of the oxygen out of the air? So not only are these security systems used in houses, they're also used in select office buildings, and specifically Centurion's office building. And when the fire safety feature is triggered in the office building, we hear a warning going off. And the house gives you 5 minutes to get out. 5 minutes, and then there's no oxygen. So can we for a second imagine what the last 5 minutes of this lawyer's life must have been?
It must have been really bad. I mean, considering he suffocated in the house, was it even a midday, or did they find him in the morning?
It doesn't make it clear. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a thing we saw a lot in the show. Just want to point that out too. Time seems to not really matter in the show.
Yet again.
Even when they give you a 24-hour period, it's there is no way in heck that is 24 hours from dawn to dawn. It didn't happen that way. It's fine. But all I can hope is that he was asleep at the time and didn't wake up for the announcement and just went.
I don't think that's what happened. It was a loud announcement.
I don't think that's what happened either. It's pretty loud. I mean, there's also Mr. Bennett was able to crash through a window. So my thought is does the lawyer have bulletproof glass and he can't get out?
Probably.
So sad.
Why? Why would you do this? Why wouldn't you? And as Joy and I were talking about it, we were trying to think of just, anything else. Literally anything else. What if you could build a little bubble over your house and then you wouldn't have to worry about people climbing over the fence?
What if you built a higher fence?
Yeah. Literally anything
What
else
if you built
better.
a fence that a boy couldn't jump over no matter how hard he tried? He had to go around. It's 25 feet up.
Those little bubbles that they put around the people with the bomb collars on them.
Yes.
They should build one of those that would just fire at intruders, and then the intruder would be trapped under the bubble.
Like a little electronic net?
Yeah, exactly.
Like a little net gun?
We got you. What if we approach the problem non-lethally? They don't get how to do that in 2048 in this show.
The level of force is actually meeting the other level of force that surrounds them. The problem is you need the AI to be smart enough to recognize a kid just trying to go from point A to point B and not even approaching the house. Mm-hmm. To jump over what I can assume was like one side of the fence and the other side of the fence just as a shortcut. Which, by the way, that's a weird shortcut anyway, because weren't they like a house on a cliff or something? Like they were up in the middle of nowhere?
It looked like they were up in the middle of nowhere, but they did mention later in the episode that Emily lives in the same neighborhood as the Bennetts. So Aaron was trying to get to Emily, and I guess decided to jump the Bennett's fence as a shortcut.
Also, if Emily is in the same neighborhood, I have a lot of questions as to what her she's a foster kid or adopted or something? Or is she just troubled?
I don't recall, actually. All I remember is that she was expelled for assaulting a classmate and then had a holographic teacher.
They didn't explain it.
They didn't
explain it. You know what? Maybe that's the title of the episode. They didn't explain it.
They didn't explain it. Okay, the last thing that Centurion, the security company, did wrong is that they have these holographic butlers, Sam, and Sam has full control of the smart house. You know, so if you can hack Sam, you can hack the smart house, you can delete security feeds, The one thing Sam can't do is physically put his hands on you and kill you because he's a hologram.
Right.
And then Centurion decides, let's make security bots. Let's take Sam and make an android Sam. And that's actually what they're trying to roll out. And that's what Emily hacks and turns against the CEO at the end of the episode. She takes the androids and she's like, well, you made them things that can touch you, so here we go. I'm going to take advantage.
The fact that a child can hack your system.
A very smart child, but a child nonetheless.
A very smart child, but like they don't even talk about like whether or not she's a Chrome. Like this is just like a child with nothing better to do because she got kicked out of school for being violent.
Mm-hmm. And doesn't have any friends. So all she does is spend her time online learning how to hacky hack. Now, the reason they create the android Sams is that crime rates in the city are on the rise and kidnapping for ransom is up 10% this year alone. So now, and here's their ad, with me, you get Centurion's signature protection services with you wherever you go.
And for those playing the home game, yes, this is why I thought of iRobot. This whole episode is why I thought of iRobot. Because essentially, the same thing happens in iRobot. Because it's not the security system's fault. Someone took advantage.
Yep. It was hacked. It was hacked.
I think the only other... You hit all the points I would have hit. The only other ridiculous thing is the life support in a building in downtown. Which... Why? Danielle and I were trying to figure out why, and I was like, is this a contractor selling you on the idea of having life support in your building? Or is hashtag 2048 so bleak that you have to protect yourself from the solar flares and dust storms, tornadoes, fire from the sky? I don't know.
Anything and everything.
That you need anything and everything. And it's not even like, it's not a house. It's like a skyscraper. Like, it is a building. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, so what? All the windows and doors, like, hermetically seal in this, 15-floor building?
And then there's temperature control and oxygen that can also get pumped out of this whole building. Why?
It was very aggravating to watch.
That's all I have to say to that. You know, not all the hackers in this episode were murdery hackers. There was also... the hacker crew that the episode is named after, Disrupt. You know, and they do things like hack the entire city grid, cause widespread blackouts, so that they can put Justice for Aaron posters up everywhere, you know?
Yeah, no, they would never kill anybody. They would never put anyone in harm's way. They would never do any of that, but like little menaces.
Yes.
I think
it's said, I don't even know who in the episode says it. Maybe it's Rudy. It sounds like a very Rudy thing to say. He says, no. They're not about hurting people. They're about making a statement. This isn't civil disobedience. They're not murderers. They're protesters, you know? And so there's this great little hacking crew that's just all about that. And the main hacker who's a member of that crew is the one with the chip stuck to his head. He has these great 2013 style highlights just right on the front top of his hair. And he has a very Bender from Breakfast Club, like, vibe about him.
Yes, definitely. There's definitely a tense scene where he's, like, trying to help them out and, like a frickin' video game, like, following them around this building like Pac-Man. And it's like, all right, cool.
They do a really cool thing with Kennex at the ends, though. The way that Kennex is able to take out the Sam androids.
Yes, that is really cool. They basically make a hologram Kennex that, like, spreads out like an accordion, so Sam can't get a bead on the real Kennex. Mm-hmm. That was neat.
Very cool.
And then I was just like, and why did you turn it off?
Well, they use it twice very strategically.
True. This is true. But yes, no, I think that was the majority of the tech.
Yep. Well, you know, while we're on the subject of Kennex and wherever you go, listeners, you couldn't see me do the finger guns, but there were finger guns to go along with that, just like Kennex did in the episode, which really, unfortunately, was one of the only cute moments that we got.
I know,
between Kennex and Dorian in this episode.
My poor pride in this episode.
Yeah, they suffered a little.
In this episode. So Dorian in this episode is in kind of a tight spot because Rudy has figured out that he has this memory dump in his brain. But first, the reason Rudy figures this out is because he's doing some routine maintenance on Dorian while he's sleeping. Mm-hmm. And we're just like, and Danielle and I both were like, boundaries!
Boundaries! Dorian wakes up. He sits up straight and he's like, whoa, what's happening? So he had no clue that Rudy was going to do this maintenance.
No, none at all. And, you know, Rudy has to just be like, you know, I'm sorry, it's just a lot faster to do while you're charging and like, it's nothing malicious, you know. And Dorian has to be like, could you not?
Could you not? Then, of course, Kennex walks in and just utterly steps on it, which I guess isn't actually out of character for Kennex. He doesn't as you say, Joy, he doesn't human very well.
Doesn't human very well.
Because he literally says to Dorian, this
is also why Robotic Hearts is such a good name for them also, because it's just like, I don't know whose robotic heart is robotic enough.
Yep, that's exactly what this is. Because he looks at Dorian, who's in distress because Rudy was rooting around in his head. And he goes, look, don't you think you're overreacting? And then he takes it one step further and he goes, if I woke up and I had a clean shave every morning, that would, you know, I'd be really happy about that. And Dorian's like,
yeah, and then
dude, no.
Dorian is literally like, wait, let me get this straight. You want me to shave you while you're sleeping? And Kennex has to be like, maybe not. No, but Rudy is doing this maintenance. He finds this thing. He doesn't tell Dorian about this thing. Mm-mm. And Dorian ends up getting these glitches, which are basically like they freeze his motor functions and he can't not have it feels like a memory. Mm-hmm. But it's like a child playing with a toy.
Yeah. And it's revealed at the end of the episode.
I've never been a child.
Exactly. It's revealed at the end of the episode that the reason Dorian feels like a kid when he experiences the memories is that the memories are organic. They are actual human memories. They've just been placed in Dorian's head.
And we don't know why. We don't know where they came from. Basically, Rudy is just like, so this is there. We need to sort this out before anything major happens because it could really backfire. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like, Dorian is in he's in the weirdest position because, you know, like, as we were trying to discuss this, like, you know, there's issues with boundaries, there's issues with consent, and Rudy, I think, approaches it from both aspects. He doesn't want to say something that's going to hurt his friend, and just like any friendship ever, you know, you don't tell a friend a thing that's going to make them upset, right? So, you know, he gives him a little white lie, which actually I think was really true, which was that he used to wake Dorian up and talk to him. And I'm like convinced that Rudy did this.
Oh, 100%. I do not think that 100%. He was lying there.
I don't think he was lying there at all. And basically just tells Dorian, like, I used to wake you up and we used to have conversations and, like, hang out. And Dorian's like, well, why don't I remember that? And he said, well, I could get into trouble. You know, like, you're a piece of police equipment and I really shouldn't be doing that.
Exactly.
And I didn't want it to interfere with your integration into the police force.
Mm-hmm. And Rudy basically tells him that the memories that he's experiencing are constructed by Dorian's neural net. And that Dorian's neural net is basically designed to build shortcuts. And so when you toss a bunch of random images into it, it will take those random images and give them a visual context. And so Rudy says, don't worry about it. I wiped it from your head. It was random images, excess data, blah, 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 blah. And then shrugs it off. But that's obviously not what it is. And the last interaction that Rudy has with Kennex is Rudy telling Kennex, listen, man, this is a real issue and we need to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. But how?
A, how? B, Kennex feels like they should tell Dorian, and Rudy basically tells Kennex not to.
I mean, this is again, Rudy treating Dorian like a friend, but also treating him like a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, and I don't like saying this, ultimately, he is a piece of equipment. He's an android. And he, you know, the purpose that he serves is very specific and very genuine and very important, but ultimately he is a machine. And I don't think Rudy can really divorce that from the conversation, which I don't know that I want him to, because I do think Rudy is the one who, like, sees the inner workings of all these pieces, right? Like, he respects that Dorian has a synthetic soul and he respects Dorian as a person, but he also understands that he is also an android. And I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I'm also just like, Maldonado's right there.
I know.
What if we told Maldonado?
Tell someone. Tell anyone. This is not the sort of information that should be kept between Rudy and Kennex. That said, another reason Rudy doesn't want to tell anyone, according to what he says to Kennex, is that Rudy is worried that if people find out that these false memories have been implanted in Dorian's head, they'll take it as a sign that Dorian is malfunctioning and will decommission him. So he says, let's keep this between us. So I guess that's why he wouldn't tell Maldonado. But I don't know. Like, I feel like they have a relationship with Maldonado where she wouldn't just decommission Dorian because he had a glitch with a strange memory one time. It's not the character they've constructed in the show.
Right. Maldonado is also the person who is suspicious of everyone.
Yeah. Yes.
And, like, this is why I want her pointed at the problem, because she would just sort of be like, yeah, I'm not going to bring this to anyone else. Thank you for bringing it to me.
That's a really good
point.
Who
else is she going to talk to?
That's a really, really good point. And on top of all of that, you saying that made me think that we know the memories were implanted because they are organic human memories. So Dorian cannot have had them. He was never a child. There's a security breach somewhere in this precinct because who was able to implant those memories into Dorian's head?
Yeah.
He was sleeping at the police precinct. Like, from the moment that he was woken back up until he moved into Rudy's place, he was sleeping at the police precinct, and then he moved into Rudy's place. So who put them in there?
Right.
Maldonado should investigate that. Big issue.
Although, I don't know. The police department just keeps looking for stuff. They never actually find anything.
That is a trend that you pointed out last time. It does seem to be their MO.
Let's make them look for this, too.
What if we look for it? What if we look a little harder? Oh, we can't find it. Let's keep looking.
So bad.
So frustrating. Do something else. Do anything else.
Anything else. You can do anything else. Anything else. But yeah, I do think there's like a little secondary like synth pride in there that even Kenix is like, well, we should tell Dorian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, good looking out. I mean, you got a little overruled though by your IT bro there, but
Maybe it's not Kenix's fault. You know, Rudy just threw some technical jargon at him and was like, your partner might be decommissioned. And Kenix is like, oh, okay. I trust you, man.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe the biggest twist all along is that Rudy was actually the big bad and we just never got there.
Oh.
We just never got to know.
You know what? I haven't seen the next 2 episodes. I don't know how well you remember the next 2 episodes. I don't know if this even gets picked up or investigated moving forward.
My guess is they don't talk about it.
My guess is that we never hear about these implanted memories ever again.
The trend in this show is to bring up a really interesting point and then completely squash it by not addressing it. We've had 11 episodes of interesting points, and only one of those through lines has been returned to.
The wall.
And that was the Danica.
Oh.
Yes, Danica on the wall. In however many episodes it was. 10? 9? I don't remember.
I don't remember. With that, though, I think we have basically summarized everything that happened in this episode.
Yes. The things that mattered.
The things that mattered. There was a lot in there that we glossed over, but if you are interested in that, you should watch the episode. I will say, you know, it does sound like we were bashing pretty hard on this episode, and there was a lot in it that made us uncomfortable. But it was also, well, okay, let me say this. After the first 6 minutes, it was an enjoyable episode. The first 6 minutes were no fun for anyone.
Yeah, I would echo that.
If you want, you can just like fast forward through those first 6 minutes. They don't even like, and then watch.
Yeah, you don't even really need it. It doesn't. It's not like they drop the person who did it immediately in the thing. Mm-mm. Like you could literally start at 6:01.
Yeah, yeah, and you'd be happier for it.
You'd be happier for it. It would improve your life significantly. No, I do think it's a good episode on the, you know, again, it brings up some interesting things for security in 2048, and what that could possibly look like.
Yes.
My one more thing in this episode is when they get to go undercover to basically be tech bros to show up at this party. Although Rudy doesn't get to go, because I guess it was like, this is an undercover thing, and you're really bad at that, so we're not.
Well, but Rudy also didn't tell them that it was going to be virtual, so they get in full costume.
That's true!
Including Stahl wears that classically 2013, like, Alias-style, bright blue wig.
Yes, it is a blue bob on her head. And she pulls it off, but like it is a ridiculous color on anyone. and Kenix has like, eyeliner for days.
Yes.
And I wish I had been a fly on that wall when they were like, can we do something like this? And he was like fighting them the whole way. And then by the time they were done, he was like, I actually like how this looks. Thanks. But so they're running through this like VR basement thing, and they're looking for one hacker in particular. Kenix stops someone and tries to like ask like, "Hey, is this guy here?" But he does it in an accent, and he does it in his Carl Urban Kiwi accent. And I forgot about that completely when I watched the episode, and I started laughing so loudly. My fiance was like, what just happened? And then I told her, and she was also laughing. And it was so great, and it was such a little tiny moment. And it, like, he says exactly one sentence, but I was very happy to see it.
It was beautiful. Let me also add, I was clicking around on IMDb because we were trying to figure out a couple random things, and I happened to click on the trivia for this episode. And according to the IMDb, the most important piece of trivia you need to know for this episode is that Carl Urban is from New Zealand.
Yep.
So that was his real accent.
That's it.
That's it. That's the most important thing you need to know.
But what was your one more thing, Danielle?
Well, my one more thing just didn't fit in anywhere else in this podcast episode, so we're going to mention it here, and it is, yet again, Richard Paul, who is marked as credits only. He never shows up, and the reason he doesn't show up is he's taking a personal day. And now Dorian thinks that personal days are days that should be personal, and so no one needs to know where Detective Paul really is. But Kennex proceeds to, throughout the episode, every time he encounters a police officer who goes, "Where's Detective Paul? Where's Richard?" Kennex makes up a different, awful, embarrassing excuse for where.
Always involving a hospital of some kind, or some kind of medical procedure.
So he says that he has a nasty infection from a piercing. He says that he has hemorrhoids, both internal and external. That last one, actually, and I thought it was really cute, that last one just shook the patrol officer so deeply that the patrol officer then goes around the precinct, collects money from everyone, and
drops it off on Maldonado's desk. And Maldonado was like, "What is that?" It's like, it's money for a, like a donut pillow.
Anything else he needs after his surgery.
Detective Paul. And Maldonado was like, "He's taking his mom to Mexico. What's wrong with you?
He'll be back on Tuesday.
Give it back to the guys."
I love
Drop some Bitcoin on the desk.
Bitcoin. That was a great character moment for Maldonado, because she's on her computer, she's typing away, she's got the glasses on, she doesn't stop typing or look up for a single second. She's just like, I don't have time for this. And as he walks away, she's just like, "Thank you, I don't know what you're talking about." Type. Oh man, that was a great highlight for the episode, actually. I really enjoyed Maldonado in that scene.
Yeah. No, Maldonado was pretty good in this episode. Not nearly as much as I wanted, of course.
Of course. Look at
but
that,
no,
Joy.
I think that just about does it.
We did it. We ended up. We set out to end on a positive note, and we did it.
We did. We have 2 more episodes of Almost Human until it is done, and then we do our wrap-up episode.
I'm going to be sad to say goodbye.
So close.
I'm going to be sad to say goodbye.
I know. You could always watch it again.
True. I will.
Without analysis.
I'm going to watch it again. Over and over and over. Anyway, between now and our next episode, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, what excuse would you come up with for a coworker who is taking a personal day? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com.
Yes, and tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the Kiwis in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.